Hi, my name is Taylor, and today I'll be presenting my poster and talking about my essay. I chose Michelangelo and Rembrandt because um, I really was interested in the fact that Rembrandt did a lot of self-portraits, and I wanted to look into why he did that, and I connected it to schools and why we as children seem to make a lot of self-portraits too, like growing up in art class and stuff. And I think Michelangelo I think he influenced a lot of our statues and the techniques that he used, as well as the meaning behind his statues and what they meant and why they were shaped the way that they are. So I really looked at Rembrandt's self-portraits, Michelangelo's statues, and they both had significant meaning, which was another point that I talked about, was like, why did they do that? Like, what, we look at art, and all art has meaning. So, I wanted to know why, or what was the tied reason, and how can we look at it in modern day. So the my first paragraph was about Michelangelo and how his first statue was Pieta, and Pieta was it was an art piece of Mary holding her dead son Jesus. Now, we sometimes we look at it as that Pieta is honoring like the motherly love towards Jesus, but like, she's holding her dead son. Nobody really realizes that, like, she's such a strong mother, that he could be symbolizing, the fact that she birthed this child, and yeah, it's Jesus, and everybody, looks up to him, and he did such great things, but nobody realizes the pain that Mary went through, because Mary, as a 13-year-old girl, birthed him and then had to sit and watch her child die, just for the sake of the world. I mean, just think, like, you have a child and then he dies for the rest of the world, like. But I can't imagine that the pain that Mary went through, and I really think that Michelangelo was trying to symbolize that and show that, and I really think that was great. And I think that maybe he didn't start it, but he did impact on why people, carve statues, because I used the Mount Rushmore as an example, because we put 4 very important presidents in a mountain. Why would we do that? I mean, it had to have some significance, because we looked up to them. Well, we look up to Jesus and we look up to Mary. I also think that Statue of Liberty, I mean, that's a beacon of hope. Everybody looks to the Statue of Liberty as for hope. I mean, the Statue of Liberty, it's a statue carved out of stone, and it's so important to hundreds, thousands, millions of people across the United States. So I really think that Michelangelo impacted people with the meaning, and that the fact that inanimate objects can really make someone feel something. And so I showed, this is Michelangelo, and then that's his statue, Pieta and Jesus, and then I also showed the Statue of Liberty right there. And then this is one of Rembrandt's self-portraits, and I talked about his self-portraits. I talked about the way he grew up, because he had a really traumatic past life, and it was just horrible, to where he stopped painting. He didn't paint for several years, and then when he came back, his tone changed, and he started, making those self-portraits. And so then I looked at why would he do that? Why people think he's so self-centered? People would think that he's like some, I love myself, I'm gonna draw myself and paint myself all the time just because I like the way I look. No, he didn't show himself in good light all the time. He showed himself in bad light, but he did show himself in good light. And sometimes I think that maybe it was a healing process for him, like, so that he could look at the good sides of him. Like, he also showed his mourning through his paintings so that he could grieve over it, you know. And so I think that it was really important to him, and I think that maybe that's why children make self-portraits in art today, because, you know, it's important for them to realize features about themselves and start loving themselves. And I think it's important for children to recognize the features that they have and that other people have, but to look at themselves and look inwardly. You have to love yourself before you love anybody else, and maybe that's an important characteristic that schools, you know, put into today's teachings. So and my thesis statement is right there, and I put my topic sentences up there. And so I really think but I really enjoyed learning about Rembrandt, and I really like digging into what he went through and why. I really did enjoy that, and I really think that Michelangelo really had a stance on, you know, why we had statues, why we create statues, why, you know, not only that, but they both, I know that they impacted the modern world because they impacted people nearly just 200 years after. Rembrandt impacted Van Gogh. Van Gogh created self-portraits of himself that I know of and that was just barely 200 years. He could have impacted somebody sooner. Michelangelo, I mean, Bernini, Bernini recreated David. So, you know, I just think that they really impacted people 200 years later, and they still impact people today, and that's why I chose them. Thank you.